Okay, to start this project, we are going to go to File, New, and you want your document to be 4 inches by 4 inches. So let's go here and make sure this says 4 by 4, and that this says inches. You want it to be 300 pixels per inch, and CMYK color is the setting we would use for professional printing, which we want to be an option when we go to print this when the quarantine is over. So create that, and here is the beginning of your pattern. The first thing I would recommend doing is giving yourself a background color. Choose the bucket tool over here. Looks like paint falling out of a bucket. Choose a color that looks good to you. You know, play around with this, see what works for your 3-color color scheme. You can change this later just by messing with the layers. So keep control of your layers panel. So the next thing I would do is add a new layer, and this can be for your brush strokes. And of course, if this is the same color, you can't see it. Let's use a different color. So here you can play around with different kinds of brushes. This is a soft edge brush. If I put the hardness up to 100%, you'll see how the edge changes. You can also change the size of the brush. Be really large. Ooh, way too big. Or you can make it really skinny. You can also play around with different fun brushes, download interesting brushes if that appeals to you. There's kind of so many fun options. So, and then remember, you're looking to combine 3 colors that you think work well together. So, there you go. Let me show you my pattern here. This is what I was playing around with. This is my tree orchard here, and I have added some different adjustments to it to play around with the lighting, and I have added a hue and saturation layer to bump up the saturation just for fun. Those are all options you might want to look into, but to create a pattern you need to make sure that your image is flat. So Control, click, and go to flatten image. So now you can see that there's only 1 layer. That means my image is flat. So the next step is to go up to Filter, Other, Offset, and make sure that it says 600 here, 600 vertical, and wrap around, and click OK. And now you will see that the image has been divided into quarters, much like what we were going to do with the paper. And your goal now is to use the brush tool to clean up these edges. So let me go back and get some more simple brush like this one, and I'm going to make it a little bit smaller and go in and clean up this image here. So to select this color, I press Alt, and now I'm going to clean up this edge and I'm going to try not to mess around with any of these borders here. I'm just going to try to clean up the interior edges because I don't want there to be a huge jump between this edge and that one. So I'm just going to add a little bit on both sides. So now it's going to look like the dirt is coming down and the sky is going up, like such. You can do a nice clean job of this. I want to clean up the trees and the sky there, the tree trunk. I don't want to see a seam. There we go. Again, I don't want to mess around with this bottom border or the top border, and I don't want to mess around too much with the edges. Just going to try to make sure they look similar on both sides. And once you're happy with that, you can go to Edit, Define Pattern, give it a name like Orchard and click OK. Now you've created a pattern, and you want to fill a new document with that pattern. So go to File, New, and let's pretend we're going to print on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. And so let's type in those dimensions. Again, it's in inches here, and you want the resolution to be high, and you want it to be CMYK color because we are going to have good quality prints. Okay, so create that. Now go to your rectangle tool over here and draw a rectangle in your new document. Go over here to the Properties panel and look at the Fill. And notice that there is an option for patterns over here. So click on that option, and you can see I have many versions of this tree orchard pattern, but I'm going to choose my latest one. You can see I did a pretty okay job with the seams, cleaning up the seams, but I could have probably done a little bit nicer transition there, make that a little bit smoother between the sky and the dirt. You can spend a little more time on it. Right now it's at a scale of 100. If I want a ton of trees, I can take it down to like 20 or something like that. Maybe 50, fewer trees. So I would try this exercise a couple of times before you settle into the image that you want to go with. You can see I played around with a number of different patterns. Some of them work better than others. I'll show you this pattern that I tried out. It's pretty cool. I like the geometry of it, but one thing I noticed is that it can be really hard to get super clean edges when you're using geometric patterns. So, but I encourage you to experiment. Anyways, back to my tree. Let me know if you have any questions. Again, you can play around with the scale if you want to have a ton of trees. What I'm going to be looking for when I grade this is just that you made a sincere attempt to eliminate those edges and to create an interesting pattern. Okay, have fun!